like that theory.
That checks out.
And I want to convince everybody that this is true.
It has to be.
Because, Brett, before having access to coffee, I want you to imagine yourself as a young farmhand in England.
I often do.
So, Brett, close your eyes. Picture yourself working out in the farm, and, you know, it's tireless labor.
It's a hot day.
And it's time for a break.
I'm a bit sweaty.
And
I think I need a break.
what are you going to drink on your break?
Let's see, I have water, but
No.
that doesn't sound very good because it gives me diarrhea. I haven't quite invented filtration yet.
That's a really good accent. I'm impressed.
I told you I imagine this often.
Okay, so you can't drink water because it's going to give you diarrhea.
The milk is curdled into cheese. So, I can't drink that. I don't know.
Probably beer, right?
Yeah, probably. Probably some warm beer.
Okay, Brett, you can open your eyes now. You're sitting in the farm. You've got a beer in your hand. You're taking your beer break because you've just been working all day. You need energy.
Right.
Right. Now, when you go back to work, do you feel more amped up after having a large beer, or do you feel sluggish?
After
slow?
a big old beer? It's usually, I don't feel light and airy after a beer. No.
Like, you wouldn't just, like, drink a large beer before going for a run?
No, I did that once. And beer is not my go-to, like, energy summer drink.
No. Ironically enough, little side note, have you run a Spartan race, Trello?
I haven't.
It's so weird. At the end of the
Too easy for
Spartan
you.
race, they give you a beer and a banana.
Seriously.
The best beer I've ever had.
Well, I guess, Trello, you couldn't ever try beer because it's celiacs in a
Darn
glass.
celiacs.
Beer sucks. You don't want it.
It's the worst. Yeah, but they give you a beer and a banana because apparently you need the calories. Whatever. But yeah, this is what people did for hundreds of years. They had a beer break because water is dangerous to drink and you need to stay hydrated.
It does hydrate you. They used to drink that in the early days of professional basketball. At halftime, they would drink a beer.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Why? I don't know, but they did.
Yeah. Well, the fermentation process, it kills microbes and bacteria. So that's why, in the Bible, you're always hearing about beer and wine. It's because that's the only safe liquid to consume. But the big problem is everyone's drunk all day long.
That's true.
All the time.
That's true. Sluggish, probably. You feel sluggish all day, some brain fog.
So,
Can you just imagine being drunk all day, all the time? That'd be miserable.
yeah, like going back into work
Uh-huh.
after you've just been drinking beer from sun up to sundown.
Because you have to.
I'm not saying our ancestors were party animals, but they were absolutely party animals. It's what I'm saying.
They were wasted at all times.
They really were. So kids would drink hard cider with breakfast. You had cider for breakfast,
Oh,
beer for lunch, and wine for dinner.
appalling.
And
That just
liver
doesn't-
cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's nuts.
That doesn't sound good to me.
No, but it was, what else could you do? That was public health.
That's true. I guess either that or dysentery. So, probably the former.
So this is really interesting because what happened was when these groups of rebels brought caffeine to be roasted in London, suddenly bars started to be replaced with coffee shops. And people were obsessed because finally you can drink this safe liquid whenever you want and you feel energized.
Yeah,
and
the opposite
focused.
of getting you drunk.
Yeah, you're even more sober. You're more tuned in. You're more focused.
So, these coffee shops started emerging around when?
Oh my goodness. So right around the time of the Renaissance. I can't remember the year
Wow.
that is.
That's cool.
Yeah. So Voltaire, who is considered the father of the Renaissance, started spreading these ideas around like art and enlightenment and reason, how to reason through problems at coffee shops. the founding fathers, like the ideas that led to the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah.
Were groups of people meeting up at coffee shops, getting really caffeinated and discussing like what they wanted to do with their lives. You think about it, it's the exact polar opposite of alcohol. It's like, I'm focused, I'm honed in, I've never been thinking more clearly. How do we actually fix problems? Right? So you can literally take a look at human beings before caffeine and after caffeine, and you see after caffeine we had the Renaissance, we had the Enlightenment, we had math, we had people deciding they wanted to rise up against countries and, you know, form this crazy thing called a democracy.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Like Benjamin Franklin, it was said he was in a coffee shop like 80% of the day. Like he would go in the morning, go in at lunch, go in at dinner. The founding fathers would oftentimes stay in coffee shops writing till like 3 a.m. because coffee keeps you awake all night long.
So what you're saying, what I'm getting, it's constitutional to drink coffee.
It is my constitutional right.
We wouldn't have the Constitution without coffee.
I don't think we would.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Honestly.
Which makes sense. How would you write that long of a boring document? Sorry, I didn't mean it's like boring. Sorry. You wouldn't read it for fun, though.
Have you ever just stayed up late at night reading the Constitution?
No.
No.
Have you?
It's not Harry Potter. I'll just put it that way.
Plot is terrible, but sorry.
You have to be caffeinated to get through
We
that
are
mess.
gonna get complaints galore. I love the Constitution, but we can all admit it's not exciting.
Maybe you could write a more exciting version of the same thing, Brett. What would you do? Would you include
In a
like
coffee shop?
little diagrams, maybe pictures?
Yeah, we need some illustrations in the Constitution, some analogies, some metaphors, maybe a story.
Yeah.
Anything
Some diagrams.
yeah.
It's kind of hard to wrap your head around at times.
Yeah, and like in more modern speak.
This is a different can of worms, but
Yeah, different episode.
when people say like, I'm trying to defend my constitutional rights, I'm like, what are your constitutional rights? Like, tell me. Like, did you read it? Have you read it?
It's my right to not know. Coffee is a right, I guess. No, a constitutional right.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, here's an interesting one. So, I imagine people listening out there, you probably have a 401k, or at least like can imagine a future where you have one, something like that, or you've at least heard of investing.
Trello, do you know what a 401k is?
Four?
Anyways, go on, James. Yep.
The London Stock Exchange was started in a coffee shop.
No.
Yeah. So all these
What?
people would get together at this coffee shop and they would debate, they would write,
Just hopped up on caffeine.
hopped up on caffeine. And there was this one particular coffee shop that was all about trading equities. So you would show up and say, I have 100 paper shares of the British, some British company. And then they'd be like, okay, I'll buy those 100 shares for X price. And after doing this long enough, they like, it eventually led to the forming of the first British stock exchange from that coffee shop.
We have Wall Street, coffee to thank for Wall Street.
Yep, absolutely.
No, I want to know how much coffee were they drinking?
So
That's true.
legend has it that Voltaire, the father of the Enlightenment,
Mr. Enlightenment himself.
would consume 72 cups of espresso a day, which sounds like your heart would
Yeah.
stop.
72.
How many milligrams
thought-
of caffeine is that?
I thought I had a problem. That's a lot of milligrams. I'm sure we do with our current modern day processes probably extract more caffeine
I
out of
think
the
so.
beans.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
a total guess out of my ass. I have no idea.
Maybe
but
it's stronger today.
either way,
Also, that's a legend. Like maybe
70 cups is a lot.
That is a lot.
That is a lot. I have around like 2 a day.
Here's another interesting one. The very first encyclopedia, which was written by, I hope I'm saying his name right.
Jonathan's Encyclopedia.
Let's go with that, because if I say his name, I'm going to butcher it.
Oh, we love weird names here. What's
Yeah.
his name?
Dennis D. Thoreau. I think it's D. Thoreau. It's not Diderot. but I want to say Diderot.
Dennis Diderot.
I think it's Dennis Diderot. The first encyclopedia was written in a coffee shop. So I want you to imagine like your good friend is like crazy caffeinated, is like, quick, tell me every single word that starts with the letter A, and then just starts writing. Apple. Awesome. Amazing. Just keeps going and is like, no, they all have to be in alphabetical order. You don't get it. This is going to be everyone's going to read this. It's going to be awesome. You can look up every word. Quick, say another word. Go. Oh my gosh, I'm so caffeinated. Are you feeling anxious? I'm anxious. Oh, I got to finish this encyclopedia.
That's true. I never really considered how one would sit down to compile the encyclopedia, but caffeine's the only way.
Right. Like nobody is doing that for fun in their downtime.
I never thought about how all of these very boring documents and things that we use as humans that we just take for granted, like our national constitution or encyclopedia.
Yeah.
How would you do that without the assistance of a stimulant?
And arguably, too, on the reverse side, for most of the human condition, we were in kind of a stupor.
Yeah.
Because alcohol was the only safe drink. So caffeine not only took us out of this phase of human existence
Lifted
of being
the
drunk
fog.
all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but then enhancing our brains and making us lightning focused, too.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of a super tool as far as drugs go, in my opinion.
Wow. Caffeine's great.
It is.
And what I think I'm hearing is that we need to place espresso machines, coffee makers in everywhere. In offices, in doctors' offices, in dentist shops, in wherever there's people doing things.
If you could have an espresso machine in your car, would you?
Yes.
I don't even know why I asked that question. I knew what the answer
I would
was.
pay a lot more for a car with an espresso machine in it. Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I've spent a copious amount of time like getting everybody ramped up on how caffeine changed the world.
Mhm.